Hello and welcome to Tap That MTG, the show where we tell you everything you know about Magic the Gathering. That's sometimes wrong, but fun to talk about. I'm Leslie.
And I'm Shauna.
And today we are going to bring you a video that outlines companions, and at least one of the companions. We're going to do a nice little series for you about each of the companions coming out with Ikoria, how you might be able to use them, and what they're all about. So what's a companion, and how do you use them, Shauna?
Well, a companion is similar to a commander, if you've ever played commander. So basically, at the start of your game, you have your companion sitting beside your deck, ready to go, ready to play at any time. You can only play it once, though, because once it dies or is exiled, it's gone, unless you have ways to bring it back, but we'll talk about that. So you have one card that you can use at any time, which is kind of crazy. However, there is always a stipulation on that companion card about what your deck has to have in it. And we'll talk about each of those as we go through it. So it is nice to have an extra card ready to go. So you basically have 8 cards when you start the game, but there are rules that you have to follow for your deck.
Mm-hmm. So the first companion we're breaking down is Lurrus, the Dream Den, or Lurrus of the Dream Den. And this companion is a fairly cheap companion. It only costs 1 and 2 hybrid mana, white and black, which means that this can go in a mono black deck, it can go in a mono white deck, it can go in a black white deck, or any combination thereof. So that's a nice thing about this companion. Its special kind of deck building role. I think that's the one thing too that I really like about these companions, is that for those that are maybe newer players that hadn't really thought about how to build a deck, it kind of already sets up the rules. So it's like, hey, in this case, each permanent card in your starting deck has the converted mana cost of 2 or less. So take out everything that's not 2 or less and just focus on 2 or less cards that kind of fit within what you want to do with this. So I really like that about the companions, and I think this one lends itself really well to that. It also has lifelink, which can come in handy for building with this deck. And then his special ability is that during each of your turns, you may cast one permanent spell with a converted mana cost of 2 or less from your graveyard, which you've built your deck around it. So pretty much anything once, but you can bring back. So what are people building that you've seen so far, Shauna, with this deck? What are some of the key cards, or a couple of the key cards that you've seen, and how does it work? What does it work with?
Well, there are a couple versions of the deck. One of the ones that's one of my favorites is black and white version for sure. So in particular, a lot of these decks take advantage of death triggers because you're not too worried about your creatures dying because you're going to bring them back. So it uses a lot of cards that have when this creature dies, blah, blah, blah. So yeah. So one of my favorites happens to be Cruel Celebrant. So whenever a creature dies, or a planeswalker even, you gain a life and the opponent loses a life. So she is just going to do a lot of damage just sitting there doing nothing, which is why she's going like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think Cruel Celebrant is a key card in this deck if you get a couple of them. So another couple cards that I think are really key in this are Cauldron Familiar and Witch's Oven.
Yes.
If you get that out and you have the ability to kind of like use your Witch's Oven and your Cruel Celebrant, so that's not any different than the other sacrifice deck that took advantage of it. It's basically, you have a sacrifice deck that takes advantage of things dying, but Lurrus gives you another way to bring it back. So if you lose your Cruel Celebrant, you lose your Cauldron Familiar or your Witch's Oven, and you don't have your Witch's Oven out yet, you can still take advantage of bringing them back and playing them from your graveyard.
And that's something to remember, that you can actually bring back enchantments and artifacts with Lurrus as well, which makes it that much more useful for you.
So a couple other key cards.
The Lampad of Death's Vigil is a really fun new version of of Cruel Celebrant, because basically you can pay 1 and sacrifice a creature. So when they're not swinging at you, you can automatically sacrifice a creature yourself. So that's really nice to have. Priest of the Forgotten Gods is another sacrifice tool. You sacrifice 2 creatures to that card, and they lose a life, and they have to sacrifice a creature. So it's all really cheap, and again, you get that card draw happening as well. So
I really like Serrated Scorpion in this deck because when it dies, it does 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life. Same thing as Cruel Celebrant, except it 1, and you just keep bringing that back, and it just continues. And if you have a Cruel Celebrant out or something like that as well, or Corpse Knight even, you bring it back and you put it out. Can Corpse Knight go in this deck? What is the converted mana cost of
Corpse Knight can. Yeah.
So there's another possibility for this deck. But we've also seen it played, I've seen it anyways played, and I know we were talking about it earlier, as like a red-black version. So that's the black-white version. You can also go red-black. So what have you seen in the red-black?
Red-black, one of the key things in it is the Croxa card. What's nice about it is you just keep playing it for the 2 mana, and you play it again with Lurrus once it's out for the 2 mana only. You don't even have to bring it out, because what you're doing is making them discard cards. So the hand disruption that Croxa causes, plus they lose life. So you even just play it for the 2 mana rather than even bringing it out as a creature, which is crazy.
And Robber of the Rich is another one that steals cards from them. It has haste, so it doesn't matter that you have to bring it out. You don't have to wait. You just swing in with it right away, and then you possibly steal their cards, and then you can bring it back on the battlefield, and those things that are exiled you can still play later, so you don't have to worry about it dying, and it's a nice little 2/2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another really good one for black and red is the Dreadhorde Butcher. He just keeps growing. If they let him grow, that's bad for them. So, and you want it to die once it's grown, especially because it's just keeps attacking. It has haste, and it gets a counter every time it does damage to the opponent. So they need to deal with that. It's a very, very strong card.
Yeah. Anyways, both of those decks I think are very good decks. Whether you want to do red-black or whether you want to do white-black. The white-black kind of leans more on you gaining life and having a ton of life, and they can't keep up with that, and you don't have to swing at all. You just kind of sit there and wait. So you can go with longer games. So you know, if you're not really a longer game kind of person, you might not want to play that deck, but you can switch it out and do the red-black deck. Do you play with both of them or one of them? What's your favorite?
I like to play the white-black deck because I like the whole life gain, redoing stuff over and over again, interacting a lot with the opponent. But when I really want to grind away a whole bunch of wins really fast, I'll play the red and black one and just really hammer really hard.
Yeah, I've been playing the white-black one as well. I really like the sacrifice lifelink, kind of just sit back and let it happen thing. Mirror match wise too, I think that the key things that have helped me in some of my mirror matches are the lamp ad. I don't see that in a lot of decks, and that gives you the ability to just kind of wait, and then when everything is set up and you have a ton of things on the battlefield, you just sacrifice and get all of those death triggers all in one turn and win the game. So there's a lot of setup, and then one final turn is kind of how you would play this deck. So that is a quick and dirty breakdown of the Lurrus Companion, how you would play it, some of the key cards around that, and what else you would put in those decks is completely up to you. Those are the key things. You can use lots of other options depending on what you have decided to build your deck around. So have fun with those. Build away. Let us know how you're building your Lurrus deck in the comments down below, or give us a shout out. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. So see us there, and until next time, tap those magic cards and have fun doing it. Bye guys.